You see the UAE coming in. You see the Egyptians coming in, not because they love us as Sudanese, because we are in the middle of Africa, in the midst of the Red Sea.
Scenario, the most likely scenario right now is that that they will continue fighting until someone kind of slips up, because they're both not really trained and equipped to fight in an urban environment in Khartoum.
There were requests from many partners for a ceasefire. There were lots of ceasefire, but none of those ceasefire were respected.
On the 15th of April 2023, a war broke out in the western part of Sudan, particularly in Darfur and Khartoum, which is the capital city of the nation. Citizens had no clue that what was going on, what they should do in the situation. Within moments, this war took a dreadful turn where citizens saw ashes and fire in the capital city. Few civilians died as they got into the crossfiring between Sudan's National Army and the RSF. With this awful sight, it marked the beginning of Sudan Crisis. With this, the world also got to know the reason behind the turmoil in the country, which is the war between the National Army and the paramilitary forces, which is also known as by the name of RSF or Rapid Support Forces. Sudan is a country known for its hospitable people and its mineral wealth. Then what has turned this mineral-rich nation into a battleground? Till now, due to the ongoing war, approximately 700,000 people have been displaced within 15 days into the war. Let's have a discussion with experts, diplomats and researchers around the world to know the reason behind this turmoil, how it all got started, and mainly to know that why two different forces of the same country are in a conflict, and where is this war leading the resourceful rich Sudan to? Sudan's geopolitical location to the world is a significant one as it is present on the Red Sea. Also, world's 10% of the global trade passes from the Suez Canal. So can we see any form of hindrance in this global trade, or any form of, even Sudan is a resourceful rich country, so can we see any form of hindrance of the Sudanese natural wealth to the world?
Absolutely, and this is the reason why you see so many actors coming in all at once. You see the Russians coming in, you see the Americans coming in, you see the Saudis coming in, you see the UAE coming in, you see the Egyptians coming in, not because they love us as Sudanese, because we are in the middle of Africa, in the midst of the Red Sea. We could disrupt a lot of things. We could disrupt the world trade. Like literally, I mean that. So anything that's coming through either oil, through Saudi Arabia, trades that are coming from Asia to Europe or from Europe to Asia. We could disrupt all trades that are coming through the Red Sea to locked in nations like Central Africa, like Chad.
Sudan's most important regional trade partners, especially when it comes to gold, are Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. With Egypt, it also has sustained a lot of trade relations beyond gold, in agricultural products and crude petroleum. And aside from that, an important trade partner was China. But at the moment, people are still waiting, or external actors are still waiting to throw their weight behind someone, because the fighting is very unclear. Dagalo, who oversees the RSF, has a huge stake in the gold business. He has become one of the richest people in Sudan through gold trading. But to gain or sustain access to that resource and sustain trade relations and diplomatic relations in the future, you also need to have a good working relation with whoever is going to be the number one.
Can we see any form of negotiation between the RSF and the Sudanese National Army? As recently, Al-Burhan, who is the de facto army chief, have denied from any form of negotiation until the war ends. So can we see any form of negotiation, according to you?
Head of the army himself, he called it absurd war, unnecessary war. And if it's unnecessary, why are you fighting it? Yeah. And the most absurd of it for me is they will end up negotiating an agreement. Why on earth are you going to a war that you know for a fact that you're going to end up negotiating? And unfortunately, I know there's negotiation happening in Jeddah, in Saudi Arabia right now. But the army made it very clear that they are not interested in negotiating with good faith. How do I know that? Because of the team that they sent to the negotiation.
I would not say negotiation, but there were requests from many partners for a ceasefire. There were lots of ceasefire, but none of those ceasefire were respected. Luckily, yesterday in Jeddah, where the two parties are represented, at least there was an agreement signed. I think that yesterday in Jeddah, under the with the help of the Saudis and the Americans, there was a document signed by both parties, which will allow, if it is implemented, it will allow civilian people to move freely and humanitarian to move freely with supplies to help those people. This is the first time that a signed document has happened. We hope that it will be respected so that the suffering of the Sudanese will be reduced.
So a lot of refugees in Sudan, they're actually within the country. They're displaced within the country. And that is also in part because the country is so big territorially. I think before the secession of Sudan, Sudan was geographically one of the largest countries. And that, of course, affects how you can flee from the country and where. And escaping to Europe, which is what refugees in Libya, for example, are doing, for many is out of the question because it is incredibly costly to get to Europe. So the closest thing are also the countries in proximity to the conflict.
A lot of people are getting displaced due to the ongoing war in Sudan. Where are these people heading to? Are they heading to South Sudan, Chad, Ethiopia, or Egypt? Reason being, most of these neighboring countries of Sudan are already undergoing some kind of turmoil. So will these countries be willing to take these refugees or asylum seekers who are coming to the country? And how are we aiming to protect these people out there?
I think according to statistics that we have right now, most people are moving to Egypt, few people to Ethiopia, quite a bit actually to South Sudan, which is a really interesting phenomenon because South Sudan is in trouble itself. Ethiopia is in trouble, and quite a bit of people also moving to Chad. And Chad itself is in trouble. This is why this war cannot continue because Ethiopia has war, South Sudan has war, Chad has war. Why on earth are we doing this in the most peaceful place that welcomed all these people at some point? This used to be the refuge of people, and now we are the refugees.
We talk about more than 200,000 people who are already cross borders entering into neighboring countries. We talk about another 800,000 people who are displaced within Sudan, particularly toward the east. You could not imagine a while ago people suffering in such a way and taking refuge in South Sudan or in Central African Republic or in Chad, countries which are Ethiopia, countries which are already confronted with many problems. But what they look for the time being is a place that there is no war, there is no fighting. How long they are going to stay there? I must say that most of those countries has been very generous, opening their border, allowing those populations to cross.
What do you think will be the final outcome of this war where is this war leading Sudan to at the moment? Reason being, considering the fight right now, there are a lot of fatal possibilities. So what do you think will be the final outcome of the war?
And I'm gonna play my magic. Okay, this is the $5,000 question, and my magic to it is negotiation. That's it. Because there is even not even a second choice, let alone a third choice. No, negotiation. They cannot win a war that is, unless you like wipe out cities, the capital itself, sections of it, unless you want to prolong this war for years, not months, or at minimum few months from now, where you will have dead, starving people that are either not interested in government or ungovernable, because by then you will have lootings, which had started already. You will have just gangs all over the place, and so on and so forth. So what are you gonna govern? You're gonna govern a crumbling country, ungovernable?
The country is not leading to the right way. What already happened will take years to be addressed. Sudan was suffering. On the humanitarian side, just to give you an example, the estimation at the beginning of the year before this crisis was that 16 million Sudanese needed humanitarian assistance. Now we talk about 20 million people. During all this period, electricity has been cut. The water system is not functioning. Sudanese are not going to work. All those impact on the economy of Sudan. Price of food has skyrocketing. It will take many, many years to recover what they have lost.
Very difficult, again, because this is such an unprecedented case or instance. Like normally when I have like something like this happening, I would go to a case that is very similar, compare the two, compare the parameters, see how they're different, what happened in that instance versus in that instance, and then try to form my assessment. But this is the precedent that we're looking at right now. So there is no other frame of reference or case of reference that can help us or me infer what could be a likely outcome. But the most likely scenario right now is that that they will continue fighting until someone kind of slips up, because they're both not really trained and equipped to fight in an urban environment in Khartoum. So they're both not set up to have supply lines, to have equipment, to be particularly precise and navigate that environment as well. So it may come down to fighting until someone just gives out, until someone calls it quits, until someone actually calls for negotiations out of the two.
For more videos like this, subscribe to It Matters. Please don't forget to like, share. Also comment down below what else should I cover in my videos. Put the notification icon on to not to miss any video from It Matters.